Hi there everyone, welcome back to my channel. Now we're trying something a little different this time for Omnia fans out there, and I wanted to do a video on a should you pull kind of thing, because it's something that I question a lot when it comes to banners coming forward, and we've got two characters coming out this week, so I kind of wanted to do a quick video on kind of going over quickly what the characters do, whether they last, whether they're future-proof, that kind of thing, and whether ultimately I would recommend pulling for these characters. And this week we have Maria and Agrias. Now, before I go into anything, I want to recommend you guys go and check out DissidiaDB.com, because Ram, the guy who runs it, does an absolutely amazing job, and I would really encourage you guys to go and support his page and everything he does, because it's amazing. And not only that, but there are much more in-depth videos out there with other Opera Omnia content creators, such as Broadway Saiyan, Mets Play, SoulDFFOO. There's so many guys out there that I would highly recommend you check if you want a much more in-depth view on every single detail of some of these characters, whereas this video is just going to be more of a quick-fire thing for you guys, just to have a quick reference point to there and go, do I want to pull on this or not? So now the first character we're going to talk about is going to be Maria, who gets her Lost chapter come out this week, and obviously Maria already exists. But looking at her command abilities in Global right now, we can see that she was basically just a AoE brave damage dealer. She had a little bit of healing. She wasn't particularly good when she came out, but she was one of the first characters to come out with an AoE bravery attack, and has a bit of a restore HP. Now she obviously gets her EX weapon this time around, as well as getting her crystals to level 55 and 60 passives. So what do those do? So as I say, I'm using DissidiaDB.com to give you guys this information, so definitely go and check that site out. But Proper Shot Extend basically just becomes a stronger version of itself, but it triggers an HP attack when you hit over 80% of your max bravery. Now there are a lot of characters that do this now, so honestly I'm not all that taken by Proper Shot. It doesn't do much more than it already does, though if you happen to have her 35 CP, her 15 CP weapon, it makes it a bit quicker, it makes it a bit easier to use, and it does some extra things, but it doesn't do anything special. It just hits harder, and it can trigger a brave HP attack. Arrow Rain can be a little bit more interesting because it restores a little bit more HP, it can give extra buffs on things, and it can give you a Brave Attack Plus for 6 turns after you use it, which will increase the longevity of her usage. Now, given that we've just had an Awakening badge and Aiko was on that, I think honestly anything that Maria can do without her EX, Aiko can kind of just do better. There's alright, you have slightly different sort of methods of dealing damage, where Maria is more physical and Aiko is more magical, but honestly, Aiko's longevity is insanely powerful for the point of the game that we're at right now, and we just have much better support units. So the only other thing that we're going to sort of look into is going to be Dark Bow, which is Maria's AX weapon. Now what that does is it does a 3-hit Brave HP attack that inflicts 50% HP damage to other enemies, which when we get to Agrias you'll see why that's not quite as useful as you might think. But it inflicts a particular debuff, and this is a framed debuff, so it means that it's not going to get overwritten very easily. And what Explosion does is it deals a bravery damage attack at the end of your opponent's turn. So what that means is after they've attacked, they then get Explosion trigger. If any of you have fought Emperor throughout the course of the game, then you'll know the kind of thing this is entailing. But because it does it after the bravery, or after their bravery attack, it's not going to help you in terms of kind of being able to prepare for an attack. Like, you're not gonna, not like Sap where you drain bravery before the attack goes off, it goes after. So whether that's useful to you or not is debatable. It can break things on the end of an HP attack, which is kind of useful, but ultimately, would I pull on Maria or not? I think that without her EX, she's kind of just completely outclassed by so many other characters, and Aiko is probably my first port of call. We have Lena that's going to be coming up in a couple of months that's just going to outpace her completely in pretty much every way, and her EX is that much stronger. So in terms of whether I would recommend pulling for Maria, her banner isn't great either. I believe it has Irvin on there, and I forget the third character, do forgive me, but it's not a great banner. So personally, if you can get, unless you're a massive fan of Maria of course, and you love FF2 and you love everything about her, then definitely pull for her. But in terms of trying to pull for the meta and things like that, I would recommend against pulling for Maria. So she's just a big no for me. Now the second character we're going to be talking about is going to be Agrias, and she's going to be available on Monday, so this is going to be a character that a lot of people are very, very excited for, because I think that she's got a big fan base. I'm actually quite a big fan of her because I love all this kind of Holy Knight thing. You guys know how much I love my Beatrix and Orlando and things like that. Agrias definitely falls under that category. And it helps that she's actually pretty good. She has a lot of things going for her. So looking at her basic attacks as they are, she actually bears a lot of similarities to Beatrix, and she kind of like takes a little bit from Cloud. So Knight's Pride raises all party members' bravery based on initial bravery, so that's a stat you're going to look into. And it grants a stack of Brave. So what Brave does is it just makes it so that her stats are stronger while you're attacking, and it grants some regen abilities. It's just a nice thing to do. You know, you've got, you know, it's very similar to Saint Cloth in that regard. So if you already have Beatrix, then having Agrias as well will kind of accentuate the abilities you already have, and I think that they'll actually pair up very well together. Obviously, when JP got Agrias, they didn't have Beatrix, so they didn't have this kind of perfect pairing. And then Judgment Blade is an AoE bravery attack that inflicts paralysis for 1 turn. Now, the paralysis rate is only 5% with Judgment Blade, so it's very, very low, though you can increase that with her 35 CP weapon. It makes it so that the paralysis is, I believe, is 15% chance, and because it's AoE, it means that if you're fighting multiple enemies, that's going to be really, really useful. And then Judgment Blade gets stronger if you have her CP 6, her Crystal Awakening 60 ability, so that it becomes a additional HP attack. It deals, it's a split HP damage attack, which means that it's going to do the similar sort of thing to what Maria's EX does, or Renzakuken. If you've been familiar with School, then you'll know what sort of thing that becomes, but having the ability to paralyze on top of all of that is actually very, very nice, and it means that she gets access to a Brave Attack Plus, which is useful, and also with Knight's Pride she can get hold of an HP Attack Plus, which obviously having access to both Brave and HP Attack Plus makes her longevity much, much more useful. The other passive that you want to be looking into when it comes to Agrias is the level 51, which is Brave Holy Knight. It raises her maximum bravery and her attack while Brave is active. So after you've used Knight's Pride, you'll get access to Brave Holy Knight. And it's the reason I point this one out is because it can be accentuated by artifacts. So if you can get hold of Brave Holy Knight 2 stars or anything like that, it's going to increase your max bravery and attack exponentially, as well as having other party buff style things like Continent's Finest for Beatrix, as I've mentioned before, or Life of Trabia from Selfie, things like that. You can actually get her bravery and attack to pretty scary levels, so definitely look into that if you're going to be artifact farming for her. Past that, you kind of want to just do your traditional max brave plus, attack plus. They're the artifacts you're going to be looking for when it comes to Agrias. And then the big thing that we're all going to be looking out for is going to be Agrias' EX, which is going to be Save the Queen, which instantly means that I'm going to want it because it's named Save the Queen. But not only that, but it actually grants her a pretty spectacular attack in Hallowed Bolt. It's a 4-hit Brave HP attack for AoE, but the biggest thing that's noteworthy about this one is that it deals 100% of your bravery damage to all targets, similarly to Tidus. Now, there aren't very many EX attacks that can do that kind of thing, so having access to that is actually extremely potent. But the thing that's worth bearing in mind as well is if you have Saved the Queen, if you look at the way that you get limit breaks on them, like all EX weapons, they get additional effects if you limit break them. The second one is the one you want to be looking at because it inflicts silence to all targets for a turn after you use Hallowed Bolt. Now what silence means is that they're not going to be able to use magic brave attacks or magic brave plus HP attacks on the following turn that you've used this. Now, against certain bosses, this is absolutely crippling to them, so I think that it's very, very worthwhile getting hold of Agrias' EX, and I think that without it, her longevity is very, very hampered. So, if you're gonna pull for Agrias, I think that you're gonna be wanting to aim for the EX for obvious reasons, but if you do get it, you might have your hands on a very, very powerful character. The other thing to bear in mind when it comes to Agrias as well is that she's just had a rework in the Japanese version of the game, and I won't go into too much detail for that because obviously we're a long way away from that if you don't play JP. However, she gets a lot of extra stuff from her Awakening, level 70 Awakening and her EX+. So if you want somebody that's future-proof, she gains so much out of her EX when it comes to a year's time, or 9 months' time or so. It's very, very future-proof, and honestly, I really like Agrias, and would I recommend pulling for her? Absolutely. I probably won't be pulling too hard for her, mainly because I know that my luck is terrible, and I'm still like hoarding gems for Kuja and Vayne when he comes around, but I've got a while to wait before then, so I'm going to allocate a few gem pulls and probably my tickets to Agrias for this month, because there's not much else that I'm excited for this month. So if you want somebody that's going to hit hard, she's got nice little sort of extras, she's got debuffs, like she's got paralysis available, she's got the silence available on her EX, she's actually very, very powerful. But she won't last for an age right now. Like, when we start hitting the more damage-dealing meta, so Rinoa, Kuja, Sephiroth, things like that, when they get their awakenings and new characters like that, then Agrias is going to fall off slightly. But like Warrior of Light, when they get their rework and their level 70, she's going to come back full force and she will hit like a train. So that's going to be it for this video. As I said, it's quite a short video. I don't want to go into too much detail about everything for both Maria and Agrias, but hopefully you guys have gotten some information on that. In short, I would recommend against pulling for Maria and using all of the resources that you get from Maria's Lost Chapter in order to pull for Agrias. Because Agrias, I think, is going to be really, really strong in the long term, and I think she's a really cool character at the worst of times anyway. So thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to check out all of my social links in the description box below, including my Twitch channel where I play Opera Omnia, and my Discord channel where we talk about Opera Omnia a great big ton. Don't forget to support all the other Opera Omnia content creators out there, and Rem for the fabulous Dissidia DB, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel. So thank you very much for watching, and I shall catch you guys soon. Bye!